She was once one of the most powerful women in Egypt. Her face was sculpted into statues, her name carved right beside a pharaoh. Her presence felt in the very heart of a kingdom built on sun, gold, and divine blood. And then she vanished. Her name was Kiya, a queen without a past, a wife without a tomb, a woman erased. Today, historians know her only through fragments, broken statues, chiseled out inscriptions, and the ghost of a story that someone desperately wanted to hide. This is the tale of the queen E.G. tried to forget. Back in the 14th century BCE, Egypt was ruled by the heretic Pharaoh, who dared to challenge 1,000 years of tradition. He tore down the temples of the old gods and demanded the entire empire worship only one deity, Aten, the radiant disk of the sun. During this massive religious and political upheaval, a new woman appears in the palace records, not the famous Nefertiti, whose beauty is legendary, but another queen, a figure rising quietly in the shadows of revolution. Her name was written simply, Kiya, beloved of the Aten. We don't know where she came from. There's no father's name, no royal bloodline recorded, no childhood stories carved on temple walls. She just appears, suddenly, like a whisper caught in the wind, and immediately, she is elevated to a position of enormous privilege. Some scrolls even show her attending ceremonies with the royal daughters, treated as if she were a true queen of Egypt. In a court where your lineage determined your power, this was unthinkable. Someone powerful wanted her there, and that same person would later try to make her disappear completely. Akhenaten's palace in the new city of Amarna was a nest of political serpents. The old priesthoods had been destroyed, loyalties were constantly being reshaped, and ancient alliances were crumbling under the weight of the king's religious extremism. And right in the middle of all this chaos, Kiya stood close to the king. Some might say, too close. Inscriptions depict her participating in royal ceremonies that were usually reserved only for the great royal wife, Nefertiti. In ancient Egypt, that kind of privilege didn't just come with power, it came with a price. The other wives, the court officials, even the remaining priests, every one of them would have seen her as a direct threat, but there was something even more dangerous brewing. Rumors suggest that Kiya may have given Akhenaten what Nefertiti couldn't: a son. If that were true, she would instantly become a rival to the most powerful woman in the land, and to every established power in the royal court. And then, without any warning, she vanishes from the record. No announcement of her death, no burial ceremony, no period of mourning, nothing. It was as if she had never existed. This is where the story turns dark, and the mystery truly begins. Archaeologists studying the ruins of Amarna noticed something strange. Kiya's name appears on several monuments, but it's always damaged. The same pattern repeats itself over and over. Her name is carved. Her image stands proudly beside the king. Her official titles are carefully inscribed, and then they are methodically chiseled out, scratched away until nothing remains, replaced by the names of other royals. Sometimes her name was overwritten by the names of Akhenaten's daughters, and in other cases, by Nefertiti herself. This wasn't the slow decay of time. This wasn't random vandalism. This was a direct order. Someone in the palace, someone with immense authority, commanded her complete and total erasure, a process that was methodical, deliberate, and absolute. In ancient Egypt, only those considered dangerous, cursed, or deeply shameful had their names destroyed in this way. So what did Kiya do? Or, more chillingly, what did she know? Some historians whisper a theory that the textbooks often avoid. Kiya may have been the mother of the most famous pharaoh of all, Tutankhamun. Not Nefertiti, not another secondary wife, but this mysterious, erased queen. One surviving inscription, scratched but still legible, refers to Kiya, with a title often used for royal mothers. Another artifact, a beautiful canopic jar originally carved for her, was later repurposed to depict a young prince, a prince who would soon become king. This theory makes a lot of sense when you consider what happened next. When Tutankhamun rose to power, the political tide turned violently against his father Akhenaten's legacy. Any association with the heretic king became incredibly dangerous, and that included anyone who had been close to him. If Kiya truly was Tutankhamun's mother, then wiping her name from history would have been a brutal but effective way to protect his own legitimacy. A mother erased to save her son. A sacrifice no one asked for, but one that someone ruthlessly enforced. So, what really happened to Kiya? There are three main theories that historians debate. Theory number 1. She died in childbirth. This was tragically common for royal women in Egypt. If Kiya did bear a son, it's plausible she died doing so. But if she died a natural, honorable death, why would they erase her? A queen who died giving the pharaoh an heir would have been celebrated, not forgotten. Theory number 2. She fell out of favor. If she angered Nefertiti or threatened the political elite in some way, she might have been quietly removed from court, exiled to a distant part of the empire. But simple removal doesn't explain the violent, systematic campaign to destroy her memory from every stone in the kingdom. Theory number 3 is the darkest, but it is the one most consistent with the evidence. She was executed or exiled as a traitor. Her name was Auntie just scratched out. It was haunted. Her statues were smashed. Her titles were reassigned. Her face was literally recarved into someone else's. In ancient Egypt, this was a fate worse than death. It was the annihilation of the soul. To be erased from history meant you would wander forever, never reaching the afterlife, never finding peace. Someone wanted Kiya not just from the palace, not just from the land of the living, but from eternity itself. In the royal necropolis at Amarna, archaeologists found a tomb that seems to have been designed for Kiya. But it's empty. There's no mummy, no sarcophagus, no golden funerary mask. There are only fragments, broken pieces of a life that was once lived in splendor. Even the carvings on the walls were altered midway through construction. Her image was replaced. Her titles were reassigned. Her identity was stripped from the very stone meant to protect her soul on its journey to the afterlife. The woman who once stood beside a pharaoh now had a tomb with no body, a grave for a ghost. After Akhenaten's death, Egypt erupted into chaos. The old gods returned. The temples reopened. The priests reclaimed their immense power. Anything and everything associated with the Aton religion was condemned, and that included the people who had supported it. Kiya's disappearance became permanent. Her memory dissolved under new political orders. Her name was devoured by the desert sand. But fragments survived, just enough to tell us that she lived, she ruled, and she was feared, and just enough to hint that someone wanted her buried deeper than any tomb could ever go. Today, we know more about Kiya than we did a century ago, but compared to Egypt's other great queens, she remains a shadow, a ghost woman standing behind veils of broken stone, a figure whose story was once erased, but now refuses to stay silent. Maybe she was the mother of a legendary king. Maybe she was a threat to an iconic queen. Or maybe she simply stood too close to a dangerous man during one of the most dangerous moments in history. But one truth remains undeniable. Kiya was not forgotten by accident. She was erased with intent, and in that very act of erasure, we find the true outline of her power. A queen erased is still a queen. A vanished woman is still a story. And in the ruins of Amarna, if you listen closely, she still whispers. Thank you so much for watching. If you're fascinated by the hidden stories of the past, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next journey into history's greatest mysteries. See you next time.